Because some of you might be just starting on your game development journey, I want to tell you the differences between using visual scripting and text-based coding to create the logic of your games. I will be talking specifically about using Bolt, which is the visual scripting in Unity, and C Sharp, which is just classical text-based coding, but this can be applied to any other software. In my journey, I began with using Bolt, and then I just smoothly transitioned to using C Sharp, because the way that you make the code in C Sharp and in Bolt is pretty much all the same. You are just adding some commands, you have some variables, and you are just connecting it all together. The nice thing about visual scripting in Unity is that the language is also the same, so when you learn how to code in Bolt, you pretty much know how to code in C Sharp. Now we will go over all of the benefits of using Bolt. So overall, I think that Bolt is good for teams and artists. It is also pretty good tool for learning. The first benefit of using Bolt is the visual debugging, because in classical C# code, it just tells you on which line you have some error. So you might be looking at it for hours just to find out that there was a semicolon missing at the end of the line. In visual scripting, there is not really a lot of stuff that can go wrong. When you are working on something more complex, that you can still make some mistakes, but it shows you the node that has something wrong with it, so it is easier to debug it. Also, while playing the game and testing it, in the Bolt graph you can see all of the values that are going into different nodes, which nodes are getting activated and so on, which you can't see in classical text-based coding. The second benefit of using Bolt is that it will be most likely accessible to your whole game development team. It will be accessible to the beginners, because it is pretty simple, so they should be able to understand it even just from looking at the nodes. And it will also be accessible for all of the artists and designers, so if they need to change some small part of the code, they can just go to the graph and change it visually. Third big benefit is that you can just search for the nodes that you need. There are also categories of the nodes, so it is really simple to find the nodes that you need. Sometimes it can take a bit of googling, but when you want to find the command that you need to use in, let's say, C Sharp, there is pretty much no way for you to know it right away if you haven't used it yet. You have to either Google it, ask some people, and in Bolt you can just right click and search for the nodes. Usually the nodes are named after what they do. So if you are trying to get keyboard input, you can just search for keyboard and you will definitely find the nodes that you are looking for. Bolt has pretty good descriptions of the nodes, and it also tells you the inputs and outputs, so it is more intuitive than just C Sharp. And the fourth advantage of Bolt is that you can integrate it with C Sharp. So if one person in your team is making C Sharp scripts, you can just connect your Visual Script with it and do some stuff. Or if you are using some plugins, you can also integrate it into visual scripting. And this is where benefits of the visual scripting end, at least for me, so it is good for teams. And the biggest benefit I would say is that you can learn with it really quickly and then just go to the C Sharp, because the language is the same and the way that you make these scripts is also pretty much the same. Now I will go over all of the advantages of using C Sharp or just any text-based coding. Overall, text-based coding is pretty good for complex problems and for effective problem solving, because in Bolt there are many tools missing, such as creating custom classes, interfaces, inheritance, so you can't really solve the problems that effective using Bolt. The first benefit of using C Sharp over Bolt is better performance. I have been looking at some tests, and sometimes it can be even 200 times faster, but it doesn't have to be the case always. Sometimes it is just 2 times faster, or the speed can be the same, but performance is definitely something that you should take into account. So when working on some bigger projects, I would not recommend you to use visual scripting. The second benefit is faster code writing. It might not seem like it is faster, but in one line of code in C Sharp, you would fit, let's say, 5 nodes in Bolt, which really can make a huge difference. In Bolt, you have to be constantly switching between using your mouse and keyboard. You have to right click to create the node, then search for it, then select it, and then connect all of the inputs and outputs. But in text-based coding, you are just using your keyboard, which is pretty simple. So once you get good at text-based coding, you will be definitely able to make games a lot faster using C# than using Bolt. Third benefit of using C# or any text-based coding is that there is usually more functionality, as I was talking about the classes, interfaces and inheritance, which it may seem like something that you don't really need, but it can make the problem solving a lot easier, because in Bolt, if you would want to create some custom data structure, it is kind of different. Using C#, you could make it really simply and solve the problems effectively. Another point I should definitely mention, which is connected to more functionality of classic coding, is that it will look like less of spaghetti, because when using visual scripting, in the later stages it really looks like spaghetti. You have nodes connected all over the place, you can still make some custom functions in Bolt, but if you have something more complicated, it really looks horrible. While in C#, you can make, as I said, your custom classes, add some comments, and it usually is a lot more readable. Fourth benefit of using text-based coding instead of visual scripting is that generally there are a lot more resources on the internet and tutorials on YouTube. So it is easier to learn visual scripting, but there are more resources about classical coding. So it kind of balances out. So if you have some problem that you're trying to solve, it is likely that some other person has also tried to solve it using C#, but it is not too likely that someone has also done it using visual scripting. And the last benefit, I think this is the fifth one, of using text-based coding, is that you don't only have to be using it in Unity. So when you learn Bolt, you can only use it in Unity, but when you learn C#, you can use it pretty much anywhere else in any other software, and you can also pretty simply learn other coding languages, which definitely will make you more flexible and more likely to get a job. So in conclusion, should you use visual scripting or text-based coding? There is not really one answer to that, it depends on where you are in your journey, because game development can be a really long journey. So if you are just starting out, you can definitely go for visual scripting. But if you are seeing some limitations of visual scripting and you are more advanced and want to create more serious projects, you should definitely try to learn text-based coding, such as C#. You can definitely create some really nice games using just visual scripting, but once you have some more complex problems, you will come to the limitations of visual scripting. So in Bolt, debugging is a lot easier, but it may not be possible to create everything in Bolt that you are able to create in C#. C# can also be more performant, and it has a lot more functionality. So each one of these options has its benefits, but if you are just starting out with game development, definitely don't be afraid to go for visual scripting, even though it has limited functionality, because later it will definitely pay off and you will be able to learn just classic coding a lot easier. I hope that in this video I answered all of your questions regarding if you should use visual scripting or text-based coding. If you have a different opinion on this topic, feel free to tell me down in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you in next videos. Bye! Thanks for watching this video till the end. If you are looking for a Unity, C# or Bolt tutor, then I am here for you, so feel free to send me a message to my Gmail and take a look at my website for more info. I can help you with your personal projects or teach you anything about game development you would want to know. You are welcome.